So we're now going to look at a further witness statement that was provided in the Lordship Lane Post Office case. 28 calls were logged by the subpostmaster to the Horizon Help Desk trying to seek help, including 12 for using Horizon systems and functions. So we are going to have a look at what was said and how the witness statement template was used in this case back in July 2005. Let's head straight in.
Can we now please look at FUJ 0012289? This is an email of the 22nd of March 2006, so you're not yet team leader or manager of the team.
So this is presumably from the time where he mentioned that he was in a team with these people but not directly managing them, the bit where there was some confusion in these previous testimony, I think, regarding to Penny.
You're copied into.
So he's copied into it, so he's not necessarily expected to reply, but they're copying him because they think it's relevant to him, whoever's sending it.
Thank you. And it's from Brian Pinder to Andy Dunks, copied to yourself. Subject is Gerwin witness statement.
Case potentially that this is being used for at the time, so we can almost get a feeling for how many cases are coming up, because the previous ones we were looking at were just the end December 2005. This is now only March 2006.
And it's attaching another witness statement with the title Lordship Lane, 22nd of July 2005.
In place of another post office where there was a prosecution in July 2005.
Right. And it says, Andy, this is the statement template which you need to use. Fill it in with details from the calls and amend the details highlighted in yellow. Please return to me tomorrow when completed, as I would like to see it before we send it off to Graham. Many thanks for your help with this, and I will amend/note this on your appraisal going forward. Any help, always ask me or Peter, but meanwhile, I will have a chat with Mick Peach on this too.
I mean,
once
the bit
again,
that
thanks,
I am
Brian.
pulling out of this here is, many thanks for your help with this, and I will note this on your appraisal going forward. Is that some kind of performance management process at Fujitsu? As in, are we saying, if you get this witness statement right, good, whatever that is supposed to mean, we'll note this, with regards to your future progression at the company? Because that would seem like some undue pressure there for certain. This is to Andy Dunks, who we know was being given the alleged pep talk by Peter Sewell in the now infamous Nasty Man email.
Just looking at the words there about the noting on the appraisal, was provision of a witness statement for use in proceedings seen as in some way doing a favour for the company, or something that would result in positive feedback from superiors?
I don't think so. I thought it was a standard support to the prosecution.
That's
was it
true.
part of, for example,
that it's a standard or at least a expected role, even if not a common one? But saying that it's part of your appraisal process, as in like it's a target to provide witness statements against subpostmasters, that would be shocking.
Example, Andy Dunks' contract or standard working practice as far as you were aware?
No, I think it was delegation. I don't think it was.
Can you assist us at all with why it might have been that something like this was seen to be worthy of noting on an appraisal going forward?
No, it's Brian that's written that. I don't know what he means.
I think it's fairly clear to everybody what that would be. And if somebody says, I'm going to note this on your appraisal, presumably that means it's going to be considered in your appraisal, which means it could affect the outcome of your appraisal, which could then, as an employee, provide pressure on you to do it, to provide the witness statement for the prosecutions that the post office were undertaking at the time.
he's obviously happy that Andy could help him out with it.
And that's what we need to clarify here.
Can we please look at FUJ0?
Because there's a difference between providing a statement of things that you know and providing the statement as a favour that you might not otherwise do.
001222190. This is the statement that was attached to that email. So it's the Lordship Lane statement that was sent to Andy Dunks. If we have a look at that on that first page, we can see there's reference to Lordship Lane in the second paragraph.
So we've seen the standard template
Right.
before, so it doesn't look like there's a lot different here. So I've been employed by Fujitsu Services Post Office Account, formerly ICL Pathway Limited, since 22nd of September 2003. So the bold's left in there where they've changed and inserted into the original pro forma, the original witness template that we saw that was drafted by Penny in 2005. As security manager, so this person in a management role, where I'm responsible for audit, data extractions and IT security, I have working knowledge of the computer system known as Horizon, which is a computerized accounting system used by Post Office Limited. I'm authorised by Fujitsu Services to undertake extractions of audit data held on the Horizon system and obtain information regarding system transaction information processed on the Horizon system. All seems the same at the moment as the original template. I've been asked to provide details and information on the reports that monitor faults, polling failures, equipment failures and calls for advice and guidance logged by the Horizon System Help Desk, recorded during the period January 2001 to September 2003 for the Lordship Lane Post Office, FAD code 162004. Again, all the same, the only things that have been changed are the dates and the post office in question. I've reviewed the help desk calls pertaining to this office, and during the period 17th January 2001 to 30th of September 2003, there were 28 calls. Surely that sets off alarm bells. 28 calls in a 2-year period to a support help desk means someone needs help, don't they? From Lordship Lane Post Office, FAD code 162004 to the help desk. I'm of the opinion that none of these calls relate to faults which would have had an effect on the integrity of the information held on the system, i.e. Horizon is working as expected perfectly. A breakdown of the calls is follow. So, installation calls for Postmaster requesting help and advice on using Horizon system functions. 12. I mean, even if there was nothing going wrong here, that second point would suggest actually that, the training, user guides, whatever's being provided with it aren't sufficient. 12 calls. I would say that's somebody who's asking for help there.
And then that form of words that we saw originally taken out of Penny Thomas's statement still appears in this statement that was circulated in 2006.
So the words that Peter Sewell objected to. So essentially, I'm of the opinion that none of these calls relate to faults which would have had an effect on the integrity of the information held in the system, have reappeared, intentionally or otherwise. When the emails are flying around with lots of different drafts of the same document, it's easy for them to get mixed up and an amended draft to be changed, or maybe somebody else decided that actually, no, that needs to be in. It's a bold statement, we're making it because that will shore up the evidence. We don't know that at the moment. We've got hardware problems at 5, so that's the actual physical components of Horizon. Non-polling issues for, well, that is the connection between the sub-postmaster's office and the central Horizon data center where all the data is stored. Issues with that. So we have heard, in the documentary and sub-postmaster accounts that these non-polling issues, these kind of disconnects with the Horizon data center could maybe have caused some transactions to not be sent or to be resent, even though they'd already been logged, and maybe double logged, which could have been the cause of some of the issues. Because it certainly seems like here there was more than one bug floating around that was causing these issues.
You can see there it says, I am of the opinion that none of these calls relate to faults which would have had an effect on the integrity of the information held on the system.
We need more details, not just on the type of calls, but what the content of the calls was as well. Presumably, they may have been recorded. If they weren't recorded, presumably some kind of notes for each call were made, because that's what he's reviewed, because obviously this individual presumably isn't the person who's taken each of the 28 calls, so it feels like that also needs to be included in the witness statement as well, so that someone independent can come to a judgment on it.
There's a slight change to the Penny Thomas version. The Penny Thomas version said none of these calls relate to faults. This version seems to read, I am of the opinion that none of these calls relate to faults.
Saying that they aren't, saying, well, I've reviewed them and I'm now of the opinion. So it means the statement can go back in, but it's being cast as an opinion now rather than a conclusive fact.
Is that a form of words that you recall at all?
No, not me. No, somebody's obviously changed the word into to fit the thing and decide that's the better way of doing it. Not for me, no.
Yes, I mean, in fact, I think this statement, if we go by the date that is provided on the attachment, it says Lordship Lane, 22nd of July 2005. So this version may in fact predate the Penny Thomas version.
So if this version predates the version where Peter Sewell objected to that form of words, where it actually said in the template that was being sent to him a little bit later in December, none of these calls from faults relate to faults which would have had an effect on the integrity of the information held in the system. Previously said, I am of the opinion. That suggests that somebody's looked at I am of the opinion sentence and decided that's not strong enough. We need to go from an opinion to a conclusive fact that none of these calls relate to faults. Before then, Peter Sewell has objected to that line completely and it's been taken out. It'll be interesting to see whether that crops up in any later witness statements from 2006 onwards.
But is that something that would have caused you any concern at the time?
Not me. I wasn't involved in witness statements.
It was, would it have caused you any concern? Not were you involved?
I mean, you were sufficiently involved to have sent that email querying the form of words earlier.
Oh, I obviously must have been, yeah.
Yeah. So presumably you did read these.
I obviously read that one, yeah.
And as a quick update on the petition, we are now at 235,780 signatures. Thank you very much for your continued support. It's more than important than ever that we hold Fujitsu to account for the post office scandal. Thanks to Deborah, Andrew and Trevor who've signed in the last couple of minutes. Keep signing, sharing and subscribing. Thank you everyone. Take care.